Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Donna Just Being Real. My channel is all about dating, love, relationship, talks, relationship advice channel. We're getting into this. We're gonna do a little bit of recap of week 2. Yeah, this is week 2 of the Diddy trial. All right. So basically, in week 2, I'm like kind of like all over the place with this. So just kind of work with me. Make sure you hit the like, share me out, and all that good stuff. All right. So basically, in week 1. We got Cassie was on the stand, which we all know Cassie was his girlfriend. She's 19 and he was 37. 1937. And this is a long-term girlfriend. So she was on the stand and, prosecution questioned her. Then they had the, what I'm trying to say, then defense. All right. So we're going to watch some clips and everything and go from there. And what you do is share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section and all that good stuff. All right. And let's get in. My co-host tonight is the real Jack Newtown. All right, we're just gonna be playing a little, a couple of news clips and everything because we can't really watch the trial. And what bothers me, we gotta go by what everybody else say. We're not able to watch it, but whatever. Let's just get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here's the first one.
Out of the Combs trial in Lower Manhattan, court has adjourned for the day in the sex trafficking trial. In her second day of testimony, Cassie Ventura, the key witness in this trial, says she felt like she was trapped and forced to engage in sex parties and stay with Mr. Combs because of videos he had of her at those parties.
And at times, she says she was targeted with violence, even kicked in the back and left with bruises all over her body.
So much to unpack tonight in this latest round of more than disturbing testimony. Kimberly Richardson at the trial for us. She's live in Lower Manhattan. Kim.
You would have made sure that somebody was here.
Well, Bill, Cassie Ventura spent much of the last 2 days on the stand here in Lower Manhattan. Just a short time ago, jurors saw pictures of injuries she says were caused by Sean Combs. The 38-year-old maintains some of the abuse even unfolded in front of people who worked for him, members of his security team. On one occasion, she says while riding in the back of an SUV, she punched him in the face. He then tried to stomp on her face. Today inside federal court in Lower Manhattan, Cassie Ventura told jurors during her more than decade-long relationship with Sean Combs, she felt, quote, scared, trapped, like how do you get out of this situation? The prosecution's star witness revealed the names of 13 male escorts she says Combs instructed her to hire for so-called freak-offs, sex and drug-filled encounters that sometimes lasted as long as 4 days. Ventura maintained she wanted no part, but did so because she feared Combs' violent reaction if she opted out. The jury saw this text message, Ventura telling Combs, quote, nothing good comes out of FOs, freak-offs, anymore. You treat me like you're Ike Turner.
They're naming names. They talked about the driver giving her drugs, and they're doing.
So I guess this is going to be the new Ike Turner, huh? The stuff I'm hearing, I can understand why she, referenced him as Ike Turner. The stuff that I'm hearing. But, it's just all over the place with this trial. You don't really know what's happening, but we're doing the best. But I'm going to see if I could try to get the transcripts or whatever that's in the court. I'm going to try to get that. And if I can, I'll read it to y'all. We go from there. All right, let's get back to the clips. And the people that's coming in, make sure you hit the like and all that good stuff. And I hope you're having a good night.
The sex trafficking because they're talking about the hitting. It's force, fraud, and coercion.
This afternoon at first, the judge ordered all monitors in the courtroom and overflow rooms be turned off, so only jurors, attorneys, Ventura, and Combs could see 7 images. Ventura testified the images were from videos of freak-offs showing herself with an escort, another one of her alone with oil on her skin, standing next to a bed, yet another, she said, of a woman who once worked for Combs. Ventura says the weekly encounters took a toll on her health. At times, she said, even prescription meds couldn't treat frequent infections. Ventura told jurors Combs repeatedly threatened to release the sexually explicit videos and embarrass her. Still, she said she loved him and sent this text to the father of 7, quote, "I can't wait to have a baby with you one day. Happy Father's Day."
The defense is going to try to say that this was all consensual. And they're going to say, why did you go back? They're going to say, why did you send this text? Why did you say I love you? So they're going to really make it try to seem like she had more control than she did.
Ventura is now married, expecting her 3rd child. Her husband, Alex Fine, listened as his wife described one of the last times she says she saw Combs in 2018 when she
I seen the clip of her husband Alex Fine walking out the court. I just hope that this does not affect their marriage. That's all I have to say. I hope it doesn't affect their marriage. All right, resume.
He said Combs raped her, telling jurors, quote, "I just remember crying and saying no, but it was very fast. I don't know if he noticed." Now, in November of 2023, remember, Ventura filed a civil lawsuit against Combs that was settled the very next day. Up until now, we didn't know the details of that settlement. Today in court, we learned it was the settlement, $20 million. Ventura will be back on the stand here in Lower Manhattan first thing tomorrow morning. The defense.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just give me a sec. I'm going to go to the next clip. So it's going to be mute for just a second. Oh, I don't have to be mute. I can play the music. Okay, listen to music while I set up for the next clip. Okay. All right, we're gonna get into. Ooh, hopefully this is. Okay, we're gonna get into this one. This is on Court TV. Let's see what their update is. I didn't watch it myself, so I'm watching with y'all.
His former girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie Ventura, facing cross-examination today for the first time after 2 days on the stand in direct. This just moments ago, she asked the judge for a quick break during her cross, all happening in federal court, so no cameras, but we do have our Kelly Craft. She's been covering this like no other. In Manhattan, outside the federal courthouse. Kelly, good morning to you. Fill us in on what has happened so far with the much anticipated cross of Cassie Ventura.
Well, hi there, Ted. Yes, earlier, Cassie did ask for a short break. She is back on the stand right now. But before we came back from the break, she was standing there waiting for everyone to make their way into the courtroom. And she was holding something in her hands, and it appeared to be a rosary. At least it was beads of some sort. And she was going along the beads as if you're saying the rosary. So she was standing there. She has on a black blazer that's kind of like a tuxedo looking blazer, but she's holding up pretty well today, seems to be in good spirits, and has been kind of chuckling at times on the stand, even in an exchange between her and defense counsel when they were talking about how she was going to be reading the communication messages between her and Sean Combs. In regard to Sean Combs, before they came back from that break, he was conferring a lot with his defense counsel. But as soon as Cassie got back onto the witness stand, he was sitting back in his chair, very relaxed. relaxed, just hands clasped in front of him and listening. At one point, he did start conferring with his counsel when some communications were being brought up on the screen. We do have a bit of the testimony that we can put up for you on our screen right now. We can talk about it, what was said so far inside that courtroom. So as I was mentioning what Cassie was wearing, this is what Combs is wearing. He has on a beige sweater, white collar, and gray pants. So he's kind of had the same kind of look every single day. His three sons and mother, they're in the courtroom. Combs tapped his chest when he made eye contact with them. And then Ventura, as I was mentioning.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question. The people that's here and also the ones who watch a replay. How do you feel about Sean Combs' daughters coming to the trial? How do you feel about it? What is your perspective on it? I would like to know, especially, the mothers, the fathers, aunts, uncles, whatever. Just curious, how do you feel about his daughters coming to this trial and listening to all this stuff? Because I have my thoughts on that one. I sure do. But we get into it another time. All right, just share your thoughts. Let me know. Or if you don't want to share it on here, you can always email me and share your thoughts. Resume.
Wearing a black tuxedo style jacket with a light blouse, her hair tied back into a ponytail. And in regards to some of the testimony, let's take a look at that and what was said so far on the stand. So Ventura read loving emails between the couple from 2008. Combs said, "I'm a very lucky man. I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to hold you." And Ventura responded, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much. I'd fly wherever you needed me to, whenever. I love you." So that's an example of one of the things that was said today in court in regard to her testimony. We do have another one we can put up for you in which she was testifying that she wanted more time and attention from Combs. "I haven't talked to you at all. I know you can take 3 minutes out of your day to talk to me, and you don't even try. I'm really hurt by the way you deal with me. I don't need your money. I need some attention. I am thankful, but I can pay for these things myself."
To the men that's out here hollering that, oh, she's just a gold digger. Well, she was in a relationship a long time. She got paid and she got this. Did you just hear what she just said? I just hope people, catch that. I notice how people want to kind of pass through certain statements. Yeah, I noticed that. All right, let's resume.
And Ted, I just walked from outside the courthouse, and some of the other things that she was just testifying to are getting pretty graphic in nature. So I'm not going to be able to read everything on camera. But one of the things that's going to be important and what defense counsel is picking up on is an email. So when these emails or BlackBerry messages are being discussed, she is addressing them to Puffy or Pop. That was the nickname that she had for him. And she told him that in order for me to be more open, I need to feel like you're my husband, that this is the only man who will have this aggressive sexual side of me. And this is where it gets to be important.
This let me know this woman was in love with this man. Mm-hmm. Let's go back. It's kind of similar to the Shannon Sharp situation. Mm-hmm. She was in love with this man. He groomed her, he manipulated her, and he put her through all the emotions for all that 10 years in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the thing is, he's not on trial for that. If he is, he's guilty 100%. Lock him up, throw him away. But I'm trying to figure out what he is on trial for. When we're going to get to that. That's what I need to know. But I think they said the trial's supposed to be like 8 weeks or something. Hey, Mary. I think the trial will be like 8 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, whatever. But yeah, we'll see. I guess it'll come out later on, whatever. But so far, right here, all I'm just hearing about, what they did, Oh boy, resume.
Because then she says in this email exchange that in the beginning, when we were in love and we did these freak offs, she responded and she said, it felt right. So that's what she says in that email. And defense counsel questioned her about that. And what she was referring to, it was those freak-offs. And she said, it felt right. She said, we were in love. And then she said, I'm afraid, though, that I'm becoming just one of your girlfriends in order for you to get your fantasies off. So they are going through all of these communications, Ted, between Sean Combs and Cassie, trying to establish consent, that she was a willing participant, and in fact, sending messages to him, one of which I'm not going to read, talking about the things that she wanted to be doing in these freak-offs.
Interesting. Yeah. And how would you describe the back and forth? Is it tense? Is it aggressive? I assume Tenny Garagos is doing it, a female defense attorney. How is this going? How would you describe it?
I think it's going well so far. It's not aggressive right now. It's not. And as I mentioned, there was a little bit of chuckle between the two of them right after she came back from that break, because how Cassie was reading the communications, I think Cassie was thinking maybe she needed to start from the top down, which seems logical, but it seems as if defense counsel was going from the bottom up and wanting her to read them. And Cassie responded, well, I just want to make sure that I'm reading them the right way. They kind of laughed back and forth, and the judge said, get to a question. So he wanted to cut off any sort of niceties that were occurring between the two of them. And he was like, get right to a question. But, you know, Ted, it's the beginning. It's just the beginning of the cross. And she's going to be on the stand for quite some time. I anticipate that it will eventually get kind of aggressive.
Absolutely. All right, Kelly Craft, thank you. We'll let you get back into the courtroom. Kelly will be with us throughout the day with updates on this cross-examination between defense attorney Anna Estevao and Cassie Ventura on the stand. This, you could argue, is going to make or break both of these cases. Kelly, thank you. Still with us, trial attorney Cannon Kearney. Cannon, what do you take from Kelly's reporting there, the initial stages of what is going to be a very long cross?
Well, Ted, I would say first and foremost, the witness's initials are CC. And I found that was very uplifting, because two words that are very credible now are credibility as well as character. We know that in the criminal courtroom that character really can't go at. So we have to go at another C word, which is the common scheme. And Cassie is here to show that Mr. P. Diddy had a common scheme of soliciting prostitution, of racketeering, of doing all of these things. However, her credibility is now on the line. So the defense wants to show that she's a violent person, that she's a drug user, that she's someone who could be a quote unquote gold digger. Well, the prosecution is doing the exact same thing against Mr. P. Diddy by showing that he's someone who's aggressive. He can't control himself in the video where he's fighting the witness, and that he's someone that uses his money to establish the things that he wants. It's going to be up to the jury to be able to decide whether or not they can believe that this witness is actually credible based on the email that we just heard about, based on the text messages that we're going to hear about. So as we've just discussed, this is very, very much in the infancy stages of the cross-examination. I'm sure, as she just indicated, that it's going to get a lot tougher for the witness.
Do cable prices have your wallet against the ropes? Are you pinned down by too many
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna I'm gonna see if I can find another clip. All right, listen to the music while you wait, and let me pull up the next clip. Give me a second. Oh, this is ridiculous. Give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're gonna watch this clip. Let's see with Lauren. Let's see what Lauren Crime has to say. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's watch this clip and hear what Lauren Crime has to say to update. Like I said, I'm just doing, clips and everything best we can to find out this week. Because this week, Cassie is on the stand and prosecution questioned her. Now it's cross-examination with defense. All right, let's see what Lauren Crime has to say. Please.
We are doing our best to be respectful of what is happening in that courtroom, but also at the same time relaying the proper information to you. Elizabeth, I know my time with you is limited. I know you have to go back in there. So I want to ask you real quick, what were the highlights of the cross-examination? And also, what is the tone by which the cross-examination is being done? Is it combative back and forth? That's the thing we can't get from the transcript right now.
Yeah, as far as the cross-examination goes, for the most part, it seems very casual. We were thinking that it might be aggressive, it might be combative, but for the most part, Cassie has been very forthcoming in answering these questions. She's showing, Anna Maria Estevao is showing her text messages and email chains and BlackBerry messages from 2007, from 2009, where Cassie is confessing her love to Diddy, or she is asking for a freak off, or she's, asking, about just more intimate details from her relationship with him. Because to your point, Jesse, a lot of this stuff, some of these messages that we did see in court today were very graphic in nature. And so, the questioning was starting out about the relationship between the two. When it first started out and around that 2007 time period, around that 2009 period, that's when the questioning at the beginning of it kind of all started. And you would think that would be, an aggressive moment or a combative moment, especially as you're seeing messages that say, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you and I'd fly wherever you need me. I love you." And then you see Diddy respond, "I love you so much. It makes me cry." And then Cassie writing back, "You hungry pop pop." But I'm thinking, just from my perspective, that around those time frames, she was still relatively young. For the most part, she was in her early 20s. She was also asked about a previous relationship she had with another music producer named Ryan Leslie. And around this time frame,
This is Cassie and Diddy. Oh, wow. That looked like you with your dad. Oh, Diddy, you know you wrong. But you know how these creep guys say, "Oh, she legal. She legal." Ladies, listen to what I'm saying. Watch out for the dudes that say that she's legal. Because if 11 and a 12-year-old is legal, you know what that means, right? You know what that means. Let's resume. That looked like it could be your daughter. Resume.
defense was kind of saying, when you started dating him, you were 18, 19 years old and he was 10 years older than you, and asking, with respect to Sean Combs and with respect to Diddy, asking whether or not, that her entire world opened up because she was dating this man at this time period. Because remember, around that time, Diddy essentially reigned king amongst everyone. And so a lot of the questioning was a lot of messages that were shown.
A vacation with Norwegian Cruise Line is so much more because there's more included. Like
a lot saying, "I love you so much. It made me feel like I can't wait until we just don't care anymore." And by saying we don't care anymore, that's about, her just wanting to be open and public about this relationship. You see Cassie say, "Pop Pop, I really miss you." And Diddy responding in these messages, "Me too, baby. Damn, I can't wait until I see you." You see a 2010 message where Cassie says, "So you hung up. It's like I need to have something written out to say to you with no breathing room or you'll get mad at me. I haven't talked to you at all. I know you have 3 minutes," because, around this time he is running a bunch of businesses. He's going to board meetings. He's traveling across the country. But it seems like, Cassie, from her point of view, just by reading these messages, that you could kind of tell that she was just somebody, at least from my perspective, somebody that was young and in love and just wanted her boyfriend around that time. I will say, as far as just kind of the tone in the courtroom today, this was a day many of us were waiting for, because it is the cross-examination. We were wondering what the defense is going to try to poke at with, kind of maybe discrediting some of the claims, especially the claims about whether or not this was consensual or not.
I might pause now and then, just give a little dating advice. Ladies, if you got to beg a man to spend time with you, he's not that into you. But she was young. She didn't really know. And now she knows. You learn and experience as time go by. But if you have to beg for a man's time, he's not into you. You shouldn't even have to beg. If he's into you, it's already going to be there. He's going to already do it because he's into you. If he really cares about you, he's going to be around. You wouldn't have to ask him. He's right there. Point blank, period. Resume.
Non-consensual, whether or not Cassie initiated wanting to do these FOs, or whether it was, Sean Combs who initiated and wanted to do it and made her, gather these escorts. And we haven't gotten too far into the testimony. I will say one thing today, Jesse, and some of the arguments that we had heard, even as I was leaving the courtroom, just to come out and do this hit with you today, is that Cassie may be on the stand well until tomorrow as well, too, still in cross-examination, something that the judge was a little like, whoa, what are you guys talking about? You guys told me that you would be wrapped up today or possibly tomorrow. And the defense said today that they still have so much more to go over, to the point that this could drag into Friday and possibly even spill over into Monday if they have to do redirect or even have to do recross. And so that was something that they were ironing out as soon as the lunch break hit, right when I was leaving to come out here to speak with you. And so it seems like they still have a long ways to go into this cross-examination. There were times that I was thinking maybe that this would get combative, maybe Cassie would get mad or angry or anything like that. I saw none of that. She was, again, very forthcoming, answering her questions in the courtroom, still very soft-spoken, even when those graphic messages were shown inside the courtroom, even as she had to read some of these, and these are very sexual in nature. Some of them I'm not going to repeat here on air, but for the most part, when she was answering the question, she still kept the exact same tone that she had even during her direct examination. As for Ana Maria Acevedo, excuse me, I mispronounced her name earlier when we were talking about her, but even when she was asking her questions, it was a little kind of messy at times. I was kind of like, is she just going to ask a direct question? And Cassie was like, can you repeat that? Can you rephrase it? And then there were a lot of objections during the line of questioning. One thing I did note is that I'm a little surprised that Ana Maria Acevedo is actually doing the line of questioning, because from what I can see of her, she's conferring a lot with Tenny Garagos during this line of questioning, whereas with AUSA Emily Johnson, when she was doing her direct examination, as far as, Maureen Comey, as far as she was participating in that, she was just, handing her sticky notes from time to time. She would get up, she would sit down. It wasn't too distracting, kind of like it is a little bit.
The reason why they had a female lawyer do the cross-examination, it cross or whatever, I'm trying to cross. The reason why is because she's pregnant. They didn't want to put a man up there and then he start asking questions and he start coming at her. They'd be like, oh, you attacking, you badgering a witness. So that's why they had to have a female, which is a smart move. I think it's a smart move. It's unfortunate that this woman is pushing 9 months, already 9 months, and she has to be on this trial and she has to discuss everything that happened in this relationship in her whole 20s. She wasted her 20s with this dude. She met him 19. I think they broke up about when she was 29. So the whole 20s. All right, resume.
Between the defense table, just kind of going back and forth. You see Diddy at the defense table. He is, again, participating in his defense. He's very much eyeballing these exhibits. He's writing notes down. He's conferring, with Mark Agnifilo and who's sitting right beside him, who normally sits kind of at the end of the table, but for today he's sitting right beside Diddy. And so that's pretty much the big sticking points that I'm definitely seeing with this cross-examination so far. And again, we still have so much more to go, according to the defense. They're not even scratching the surface yet, according to them.
Not surprisingly, I think it was said today, this is the star witness of the prosecution's case. I think the defense, their case, is mostly wrapped up in how Cassandra Ventura appears in front of this jury. So I'm not surprised it's going to take some time. Elizabeth, I wish we had a little bit more time, but I know you have to jump back into that courtroom. So thank you so much. We're going to get you back later on in the day. Elizabeth Milner, great reporting as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, so I want to continue the conversation and take your questions right now about this. I'm back here with Saf. I'm back here with Serena. So one of the questions that we got, and I want to pull it up right now. Let me just pull it up where it was, where we got it. It was a good question. Now I'm having trouble finding it. Okay. This is a question from Jaden Jarrell. I'm going to throw this to you, Safa. Do you think the text messages make her not credible? And when we think about text messages, I'll give you an example. This was one from apparently she wrote to Combs in an email. In order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home, like this is my husband. And this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me. When we used to freak off, when we were so in love, there were no questions asked. It felt right. Like it literally made sense for the next step in our sex life together. What do you think?
The text messages certainly will weigh on her credibility. I think what we've heard or what we're hearing now through the cross-examination is the defense attorney essentially using these text messages to say to her, well, listen, you again were a willing participant, you continue this relationship with him. And the defense is highlighting that through those text messages and through the conversations Ms. Ventura has been having. But it also goes both ways, because also in those text messages, which there are some ones for the prosecution here, she discusses how he has been physically violent towards her. They discuss the freak offs and a number of other things that really go to show that there was some sort of physical violence within the relationship, threats of force and things like that, which the government essentially has to prove. So the jury's going to determine how credible Ms. Ventura is, and the judge will instruct them on how to determine that. And they will be able to decide whether or not those text messages are consistent with her credibility, and if they either bolster or affirm her credibility or discredit her.
I'll tell you what, we did a poll up on Law and Crime. This was the question. After hearing both the allegations and the defense cross-examination so far, who do you find more credible? 80% say Cassie, 20% say Diddy. Serena, you think that's going to be consistent with what the jury's thinking at this point? Or it's very difficult to know because, again, there's one thing how we're listening to the transcript, or at least we're reading from the transcript, versus how the questioning is done inside that courtroom. What do you think?
So much plays a role here, Jesse. It goes in every different direction. First of all, the people who are taking the poll are almost self-selected, right? They're obviously interested and have been following the Diddy case for a long time. They might actually know, your Law and Crime viewers might know a lot more about this case than the jurors do, at least at this point. And so it's hard to say whether it's going to, spill over to how the jury feels. On the other hand, the jury is supposed to be objective. It's supposed to reflect the community. And hopefully the jury is listening very, very intently to all of the testimony, both the cross and also the direct from the prosecution. I do think that Cassie has come across very credible.
Pause it.
I also do think that there is a little bit of an uphill battle with respect to these text messages.
You notice in the art they draw, like the paintings, that Diddy is always looking directly at the person who is sketching. Why is he doing that?
Ooh.
Is he trying to, you notice it, don't you?
Wait a minute. I thought you was going to go to another angle. I thought you was going to say, I don't know the angle of the sketching, but I didn't even think of that. That's something to think about.
Yeah, why? Because that sounds like he's trying to intimidate the sketcher.
I gotta
think about it. Because every time we see this, he's looking directly at the sketcher. Think about when you just go back a little bit, just a little bit to the.
Wait a minute, that's something to think about. Let me see.
Right there. You see this? You look at that. Look at this nigga. Look at him. He's looking right at the sketcher. You see that? You see that? He said, "Yeah, that's me. Yeah, take that. Yeah. Look at him. He's looking at. Yeah, I'm looking at you. I know who you are.
This is insane.
You see."
I gotta start looking at these sketches to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, he's looking directly at the person who's doing the sketch. He's staring at them. Because, usually people sketch, and, it takes a second because they got to have a standstill art. And he's looking directly at him. Like, yeah, that's me. Look at this between my legs. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, why is his head turned? What is he looking? Why is he looking at?
Yeah, see the one I'm talking about, Donna.
Why is
people don't pay attention to stuff like that.
Shout out to Jack. Jack, pay attention.
Why are you looking directly at the sketcher? You trying to intimidate them? You try to threaten them? Or you sending some people to them?
Really
you making sure that sketch looks right? His image looks right?
Yep.
Why are you looking directly at them like that? Look at that. Look what he's doing. Look at him.
I never saw a sketch. You're right. Why is he looking at? It's like
when R. Kelly was on trial,
right.
He wasn't looking directly at the sketcher. He was, focusing on this case. He's concerned. He's looking directly at the sketcher like, yeah, I know you who you are now.
Yeah, like
why you looking directly at the sketcher? They doing their job. You try to intimidate the sketcher.
they doing their job.
If they had cameras, Donna, he'll be looking directly at the camera, like, yeah, that's right. Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I think he would have took the stand too. Well, we don't know. He might take the stand later on.
He better tell. If he want his time cut, he better snitch.
Yeah.
Jay-Z.
And the list goes on. Let's expose all the creeps. Get them out of here. But she's legal. Yeah, okay. Resume.
The jury is listening very, very intently to all of the testimony, both the cross and also the direct from the prosecution. I do think that Cassie has come across very credible. I also do think that there is a little bit of an uphill battle with respect to these text messages, because they're going to try to say, look, you're saying these things now, but your state of mind at the time was that you were a willing participant.
We'll talk about the defense and something that Elizabeth just brought up, Safa. Why would it be Anna Esteveo is doing the cross-examination as opposed to Tenny Garagos? Do you have a theory about that?
Oh, absolutely. There's absolutely no way that the defense could have allowed a male to cross-examine Miss Ventura for optics purposes.
Well, Tenny Garagos is a woman.
Yeah, well, and so I guess to the point, and I think what I heard Elizabeth say was what she was conferring, or I think it was Miss Anna who was conferring with other attorneys. But essentially, they need a woman to cross-examine Miss Ventura, and the importance of that is because optically speaking, when you have a man who is cross-examining a woman, especially a pregnant woman who is very delicate in nature because of her pregnancy condition, it just looks bad to have a male cross-examine her. So it's not surprising that the defense would have made the decision to have this particular attorney cross-examine her. And I think for optics speaking, that was the right thing for them to do. If they had a male cross-examining Miss Ventura, it would have just looked very aggressive, as if they're pummeling down or combative with a woman who is pregnant and fragile and maybe in the eyes of the jury is a victim. So they're very careful about that.
It's interesting when we talk about her cross-examination because we have a question here, Serena, from Legs 7K. With today's cross-examination, could Cassie be on the stand tomorrow, or is there a new witness to testify? So it seems the judge said in court, hey, listen, guys, the plan was, you always knew her testimony had to end this week. Now, why that's the case, maybe it has to do with pregnancy. I'm not entirely sure, but what I will tell you is there's a lot more they need to question her about, and there's a lot more that I imagine the prosecution wants to come back.
Basically, the judge just wants to get this over with. The judge has his mind set on a certain time, and he wants everything to be done by then. So he's telling prosecution and defense, get your act together, but this trial is going to end at this time. Yeah, that's what it's all about. And it's so sad when your life is on the line. This is what happens. That's why do your best. Don't get caught up in this stuff, because it is what it is. When your life is in somebody else's hand, oh, you don't know how they're going to act and how they're going to treat you in any situation. Resume.
Back at with a redirect. Why is it so important to have this testimony finished up by the end of the week? Do you think that this is realistically going to end by tomorrow, or do you think this has to extend until Monday? I mean, doesn't the
Introducing the iHealth COVID-19 Flu and
prosecution have a right to question this witness as much as they need to? This is the star witness in this case.
100%. I would highly doubt that this is going to end today. Most likely it will continue tomorrow, possibly into Monday. I'm smiling because I think it's funny in a way, because even though this is P. Diddy and he's a famous guy and this is, the trial of the century at the moment, these scheduling things happen in all cases. Judges get very frustrated. Witnesses get frustrated routinely when things don't go their way, when schedules are longer than expected. The judge also wants to keep the schedule tight for the jury's purpose. I assume that the tightness, though, is because Cassie is pregnant. They don't want to overwhelm her. They don't want a medical situation. They want to make sure that she's okay. But
let me recap what I just said. You're right. He could be thinking about the jurors. That's something to think about, because the jurors is there. We don't know everybody's situation that's on the jury. So he told the judge, jury, basically it's going to be done at this time. And he's trying to respect his, their wishes. And I could understand that. So I take back what I said. All right, resume.
you are correct. Both sides have an opportunity and must have an opportunity, especially Diddy's team, to confront his accuser.
And Serena, real quick follow up on that. A part of me wonders, while they had to have her testify first, she's the star witness of the case. And also the practical reality is we can't wait 8 weeks. She might give birth. But at the same time, primacy, recency, this is going to be 8 weeks from when the jury hears her testimony and goes into deliberations. Is that a problem or a benefit for the prosecution? I spoke to a lawyer earlier today who said, first thing the jury hears, they're going to remember that versus, towards the end, when the defense has an opportunity to cross-examine the prosecution's star witness, might not work to their benefit. I understand the practical realities of having her testify first, but is that going to hurt or help the prosecution?
Well, I love that you came up with primacy and recency. Those psychological thoughts are very apparent in trials all the time. The first thing you hear and the last thing you hear are typically the things that you remember. And so there's so much strategy that happens when prosecutions present a case to a jury. So much goes into who goes first, when they say the things that they need to say, whether they're still on the stand during during the weekend. Are the jurors going to be thinking about her testimony over the weekend? And how are they going to be thinking about it? Was it the last word that they heard from the defense? Was the last word that they heard from the prosecution? Strategy is so important in trial, and the order of witnesses has a lot to do with that strategy. So I think for two reasons, the fact that she's going to give birth very soon and the fact that, the prosecution wants the jury to remember her testimony are two solid reasons why Cassie went first.
So by the way, I think she also went first, and not to self-promote, but I'll self-promote because this is what I do. I did a sidebar. It's coming out later today. I mentioned it before. We matched up Cassandra Ventura's direct examination and how it will help prove the elements of each one of the charges. So, Safa, I think that when she talks about threats of violence, control, that all works to force, fraud, coercion, elements of sex trafficking, her being transported, allegedly having sexual relations with escorts in different cities, them getting paid, goes to sex trafficking. When she mentions, escorts, at least one being brought to different cities, transportation to engage in prostitution. The racketeering case is interesting. Safa, we have a question from Sharada Ramanthan. Apologies if I mispronounced that. The evidence of an entire enterprise being involved is way beyond domestic abuse, right? Yes. I'm curious, based on what you've seen in her direct examination, do you think she has provided enough of this racketeering, criminal enterprise, common purpose, racketeering conspiracy is the actual charge? Do you think she's done it?
I think she's certainly setting the framework for that. And I think to an extent she has. With regard to an enterprise, it needs to be an individual or at least one or more people acting in concert and things of that nature. Mr. Combs in and of himself is an individual. So her testimony that at his direction, he was doing certain things to further this sex trafficking and kidnapping or conspiracy, is enough. Now, what I expect that the prosecution is going to do is that they are going to add additional witnesses after Ms. Ventura comes off the stand that will help further the idea or their theory that there were other people that were acting in concert or this criminal enterprise, whether that be security guards or other people that may have worked for Mr. Combs during that time period, which will go to show that this was an enterprise. But I think that Cassie or Ms. Ventura has set the framework and we have a little bit from her, maybe not enough, but I think the prosecution's on the right track with showing that this is an enterprise.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me put the music back on. I'm gonna see if I can find one more clip, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see if I get lucky. Ooh, sorry. Okay, just give me just a second here while I look for another clip here. I think I have one more. I'm gonna have to mute for just a second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's no more clips here. I might do something Saturday, like in the afternoon. We'll see. If anything jumps off from this Friday, then I'll do something Saturday. If not, it'll be next week, and I'll do another recap of the week of next week. So that'll be week 3. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Thank you for engaging and all that good stuff. And stay tuned for some more of Donna Just Being Real. If you need to reach out to me, look into the description. You can find my email address, and we can go from there. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, please Date smart, not thirsty. And also to the mothers and to the fathers, teach your kids about dating. Teach them, talk to them, talk to them, talk to them. Because these sleazeballs, these creeps is coming out there. They're on the hunt for your child. Adios.